Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Welcome to Dig on America, where we speak truth to power. Every week, we give you the dig on how American history, policies, and media created the social and political issues we face today. DOA is independent media supported by listeners, but they'll tell you we're just fake news, deep state propaganda, funded by George Soros, the Clinton Foundation, BLM Marxists, and
Quagmire.
Luigi from Mario.
Elon Musk.
Oh,
A repeat sponsor of the show,
That's
Elon Musk.
that's a good sponsor. Waiting for the money. I'm waiting for his fight with Putin too. I can't wait for that epic.
His duel.
His in his Iron Man suit.
That's when you know. That's when you officially have too much money. Is when you just like get, like you've licked toad a couple of times that day. You smoked 3,000 bowls, had the most amazing champagne ever, and then you get on Twitter like, man, I will fucking fight Putin, bro. I will fight him, bro. I'm gonna say it. No, like you got to be certain levels of rich to like actually get your threats to dictators out there as an actual. Well, I don't know. I mean, pay-per-view might pick it up. I don't know. Probably. Like we have to like break it down. Like, all right, he's got a 14.5-inch reach advantage. That might be the decider.
It's like 14.5-inch reach. Okay, got it.
Yeah, Jake Paul is
Like,
fighting.
you're awful optimistic there.
Jake Paul's fighting Kendall Gill on the main ticket, but as the undercard, we have Elon Musk versus Vladimir Putin with knives. So here we go.
Can we
It was the
move
internet.
back? Can we
They're
move
gonna fight
back
with satellites.
Can we move back to the days of like choosing a champion to fight for your country?
Ooh,
'Cause I think
yeah.
we're more better served that way.
Oh, look at
Let him do it
this.
himself. Let him do it himself. Let him do it himself.
I was going to
Jesus.
say the guy.
I know. You ruin
No.
everything. Just let him have it. Let him have it.
I'm not coming on the show, and then here he comes on the show.
Yay!
Pause. You're a little quiet there, though. All right, so welcome into the second half of the show. We're going to get right started with the dig today. We'll probably play Snap One, Marry One, Prank One with both Tim and Isla since they're
I'll
here
win.
with us.
I bet you will.
I will win. I know them both too well.
So,
By the way, my
Way!
oh, look at that.
I do not have my Dig on America tank top. I should be wearing that.
I always drink from my Dig on America mug.
Yes, you do.
Dig
Or the-
on America mug that has
or-
pens in it.
or the invisible glass. I like the invisible glass.
I like the invisible glasses. It's his Wonder Woman secret identity.
Oh my God, it's got a shadow.
The shadow.
Look, he's catching the
It has
arch.
beer to go with your cigar.
Put it under the
has-
arch, Mikey. You're catching
now?
the arch with your cup. I love it.
Look at
A
that.
beer to
I
go
have
with
a
your cigar.
It looks like a Guinness.
The
Mhm.
shadow is not green screened out. Uh-oh. We have technical
Isn't
flaws.
isn't
Product
that
placement.
interesting?
Now Guinness
can-
owes you money.
All right.
Yeah, Guinness, pay up.
All right, so thank you to Shahid Buttar for joining us for the first half of the show. Listeners, if you want to check out that show, you can go, if you're listening on like Spotify or iTunes, you can go one episode down and listen to Shahid's interview. If you are listening to the show for the first time, thank you for joining. Thank you for, please subscribe on YouTube
Hello.
or Twitch. And check us out on patreon.com/Dig on America and
We're
give us all
totally
your
not-
cash.
We're totally not weird. Don't turn it off. Please stop, stop, stop. We're not weird.
Yes, we are. With us today, Tim Bristol, Isla from the Bicurian podcast, and Tim from a really shitty show called Speaking from the Center.
Easy, easy. That's part of the bin. Easy. That's part of the bin podcast
It's a
network. You watch
shitty
your
show,
mouth.
part
Yeah.
of a shittier network called
Mikey-
The Bin.
Why
Mikey
am I
Famine
part
is
of the
my
Big
business
Podcast
daddy.
Network? Why am I left out?
Oh, don't worry. Your day is coming. But you know
You
whose day
haven't-
just got pushed back a day?
Tim's?
No, Tim's we already ate Tim.
He's already my business daddy.
Tim was a power
Aw.
pellet in the corner.
Mhm.
And we're here with Big Haas and Mikey. So
Tim
Well,
was
the
easiest
fun-
to catch.
Yeah, he was free. He actually paid to join the bin.
He told me where he was parking. I just grabbed
Yeah.
him up.
Nice.
The bin came to him and said, we're going to offer you a contract paying you $450,000. Tim was like, I'll give you $20 to join. And then they were
No.
like,
The contract was in rubles.
yes.
Oh, poor rubles.
Poor Tim. That comes to 425,000 rubles. That comes to 16 cents.
Yeah, I was
Tim.
like, all these zeros mean nothing.
He
I
tries
owe
to
you
change
money.
them in for pesos and still can't get any money. All right, so we're gonna get right to our dig today.
Hi, Big Haas.
Oh yes, and Big Haas is out here on the show, though you wouldn't know that he wasn't here. He's somewhere else today, though. Somewhere different.
I could
Something's different in the background there.
Oh yeah, I gotta put my leg up, so I couldn't sit in my normal spot because my knee is not allowing it.
You injured, cuz you ain't said
I
nothing.
did a lot of jumping around and stuff with
House of Pain?
earlier. Something like that.
You jumped around with House of Pain.
That's actually not
Jump-
that bad.
Jump
For
up,
Dutch,
jump
that's not bad.
and get yeah.
It's a great
All right,
song.
so I have. Before we get to the dig, though, I want to ask a question. I was going to ask Shahid this question, and I asked a different question because he said something about San Francisco rap. So, 4 down territory question for the group. One question.
7.
Beastie Boys, hip hop or alternative rock?
Come on, man.
What?
Why you even ask a question like that?
What are you talking about?
Because they play them on the alternative station all day long.
That's just justification, dude.
I think they're hip hop.
I
They're
agree.
hip-hop.
I don't know if I'm allowed
No,
to say
it
that.
is hip hop. It is freaking hip hop.
I'm like, this
Outta
feels like
here.
a trick
Look,
question.
you will never hear Snoop Dogg on Lithium, Sirius XM. But Beastie Boys play on there like every 4th song. And Kid Rock, for that matter, too. Like Kid Rock at least started as hip hop, and then he became a rocker, and then he became a complete madman. But,
And I like how he used black culture to get famous, and then,
By like, do you mean are disgusted by?
yes.
Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to clarify what like meant in this context.
well,
I thought I knew.
he's on super fucking far right.
Yeah.
I mean, like
He's
not
gross.
right, not cute right. Like,
Mm-mm.
And then he
super
tries to play like he's this poor guy, and he's fucking loaded.
And
He
he
was
comes from a
He
ton
was
of money.
loaded before he got famous.
Yeah, he was probably my favorite artist in the 90s, Kid Rock. I fucking loved Kid Rock. And then I met him outside of Wrigley Field with Jeremy Roenick, the Blackhawk. And Jeremy Roenick was fucking hammered, and Kid Rock was a complete dick. So that probably is part of it too. That he was a dick to me. He wouldn't sign my chest, and I asked him to sign it, and he told me no because I'm not
So
Pammy
you
Anderson.
wouldn't sign Kid Rock around your areola?
I begged them to.
I did not need that, Big Haas. Thank you.
It was
Okay.
it was the navel. It was worse.
So it's
Get in there real deep, Rock.
we want to hear from the chat. Are the Beastie Boys alternative rock or hip hop?
you-
Your
Dutch,
opinion.
I got a question. Are they just throwing any old Beastie Boys song on there, or is it like
No, they will play "Fight for Your Right," "Sabotage."
well, those have guitar
Intergalactic.
riffs. Those
Yeah.
have guitar riffs.
I have a question.
They're not gonna play Paul Revere on there though.
No,
I have
they
a
have.
question.
They have?
What?
Yeah, absolutely.
What instrument do the Beastie Boys play?
None.
How the hell are they a rock band? Don't have guitars, bro. That's a track.
Yeah.
That's a rap
It's-
group. What are you talking about?
It's because they're a bunch of white dudes, and a lot of people who like alternative rock also were inspired by the Beastie Boys. Like there's a lot of alternative rock bands that were inspired by, the Beastie Boys and by other hip hop artists. But like, I love the Beastie Boys, and I knock on them. It's just like I don't understand why they're on Lithium. Like if you listen to Lithium, I
Because
listen to
they're
Lithium
white.
all day, and it's like they're on there all
white,
the time.
Dutch. They're white.
Yes, I get that. They're on there
That's
more
why
than
they're on
Nirvana,
the white people station.
but they're
But
on there
hip-hop is
more than
popular than rock.
like. Let me hear Jesus Jones or Toad the Wet Sprocket, right? Like I'll hear them when I
just
turn on
read a
LL
long
Cool J's.
Atlantic article about rockism and white supremacy, so I get real late. But I'll just say Mikey's summary is covering it.
They were they're a white group that's popular. Of course, they're gonna like bend the rule on playing only your alternative.
Get your black fix without, you know.
Yeah,
this is your black alternative. The only black rappers I've ever heard on Lithium was I heard one time
Lupe.
No, it was
They
play Kick Push.
No, Outkast.
Which one? Hey Ya.
No, it wasn't Hey Ya. What song was it?
It
was Bombs Over Baghdad.
Bombs Over Baghdad. Yeah.
Bombs Over Baghdad. I heard it on Lithium, and I was like, "Holy shit, they're playing." I remember Outkast was on the Man Cow show when Man Cow used to be normal.
Oh my God. What happened to that guy?
I used to love Man Cow.
Yeah.
I had a Man Cow Muller T-shirt. I had a Man Cow's Madhouse T-shirt.
I wanted one, and my mom would not let me get that fucking shirt. She was like, "Oh hell no." Oh
Man
no!
Cow's Morning Madhouse.
She was not letting me get the fucking.
I used to rock it too. I rock it.
And for the people who don't live in Chicago, everybody else except for us three.
What are they talking about?
Man Cow Muller was like the shock jock.
Yeah,
Howard Stern of Chicagoland.
Howard Stern Light.
Yeah, he was Howard Stern Light. Then he went on to this weird libertarian tear, but he had the typical phone scams and it was mostly about the in-studio personalities. No one really cared about the music
and stuff like that.
Yeah, no one really listened to the music that they were playing. They'd play like fucking a song and a half an hour. You were just there to listen to them banter and shit like that.
Yeah, they didn't listen. They didn't play any music on Q101 or the
first time I heard Seven Nation Army was on Man Cow's Morning Madhouse.
He had on a lot of cool like he had Chuck D on the show years ago. He had on the guy who fucking what's his name? The guy who plays Eric Stoltz from Pulp Fiction. You know, he had a lot of fucking really cool. I think Mark Hamill's been on this show. By the way, I love fucking Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill is the king.
Mark Hamill?
What's
that experience? There was a comma there.
Yeah.
There's a comma.
No, this is not the Constitution. Do not put a comma where it is. There is not one.
No, there was a comma. There were two commas. There was one and another right around the adjective.
I love fucking Mark Hamill.
I'm trying so hard.
I'm Ron Burgundy
from Mark Hamill. It's gonna be great.
Mark is very cool. Let me tell you,
Mark Hamill has retweeted Dig on America
that he has
2 times, by the way,
because he loves
that. Makes you super awesome, cool.
And also, Mark Hamill has now ascended from Star Wars famedom to real life Twitter Jedidom. He is an actual Jedi on Twitter. It's scary to see how good his fucking retorts are. Damn, they're
left
good.
his gay. I was like, that is the best.
Très magnifique. It's just such good snark. You can't find snark like that these days.
No, you certainly can't.
It's a classic.
But with that being said, there's our banter. I love our banter. Now we have to get into the dig. So,
I thought you had a question. Oh, that was the question.
That was the question.
Beastie Boys question.
Yes, it was.
Did everybody answer?
Yes.
Yep. It was a pretty resounding, stupid question, Dutch.
All in favor for Dutch not being allowed to pick the question again? Okay, cool. All right, that's fair.
You know that doesn't matter though. He will anyway. You can vote as much as you want.
100%. He's gonna ask the question.
He's gonna pick the question.
He's gonna be like, so normally this is where I would ask my question, but no one wants me to do it.
So the next question is
my question is
Pitbull, reggaeton, or rap? No. All right. So let's get into today's dig. So now, my 8th grade social studies teacher,
Mr. Humble.
taught me things that turns out after doing my own research wasn't exactly the whole story. And this week we will dive into the pros and cons and the debate around the Keystone Pipeline XL. That's not the small Keystone Pipeline. That's the Tim Bristol size shirt. The Keystone Pipeline system. And again, for those listening, the guests anybody here can yell out pause. This dig, Mike, we will be happy to know is slightly longer than usual, but it's very robust. And basically, this is just information for you to make up your own mind. The Keystone Pipeline system is an oil pipeline system in Canada and the United States, commissioned in 2010 and owned by a private Canadian company, TC Energy, whose largest shareholder is the Royal Bank of Canada and the government of Alberta. It runs from Alberta, Canada, to refineries in Illinois, Texas, and Oklahoma. Pipelines in general, just regular pipelines, are useful in the transmission of liquid items from one location to another. You have this in your home because a pipe takes your poop away from your property to the wastewater treatment plant. So we're not against pipes, right? TransCanada Keystone.
I'm against pipes.
Yeah, because you're a pipe layer.
Tim likes the open trough that's slightly on a gradient.
Yeah, there you go.
And a little trickle of water down there.
It slides down to his neighbor's yard.
Eventually, it will be gone. Doesn't have to all go today.
It's what a cheese-based diet does to you.
Oh, God.
The TransCanada Keystone Pipeline GP for General Principality.
GP, are you with me? Oh, yeah.
I'm having church. I ain't going nowhere. The GP operates 4 phases of the project. Okay. So in 2013, the first 2 phases delivered up to 5,000. Started in 2013. The first 2 phases deliver up to 590,000 barrels of oil per day. Phase 3 can deliver up to 700,000 barrels per day. By comparison, production of petroleum in the United States averaged 9.4 million barrels per day in the first half of 2015, with gross exports of 500,000 barrels per day through July of 2015. In 2017, oil leaked from the pipeline in South Dakota for 15 minutes before the flow of oil could be stopped. Over 400,000 gallons of oil was lost, and the environment, ruined by this oil. Though it is fair to point out that this technology, pipeline technology, overall has a very good 99.99% success rate in the realm of safety, especially when compared to like rail or train. A third pipeline in the Keystone, which is a 1,906 kilometer long Keystone XL pipeline, or phase 4, began construction in 2020 and was planned to be completed by 2023. That was pre-COVID estimate. By comparison, to be fair again, the global oil and gas energy, globally, oil and gas has many, many, many pipelines within that energy system. For example, the West-East pipeline stretches over 8,700 kilometers, owned by PetroChina, who actually owns about 72% interest in that West-East pipeline. When completed, if it would be completed, the Keystone XL pipeline will transport 830,000 barrels of what are called oil sands crude per day. In 2015, President Obama had rejected the extension, but after his election, President Trump signed a presidential memorandum. It will revive both the Keystone XL and Dakota Access pipelines, and later I will issue permits via an executive order. In June of 2021, the sponsor of the Keystone XL crude oil pipeline pulled the plug on the stage 4 of the XL project after Canadian officials failed to persuade President Biden to reverse his cancellation of the permit issued by Trump. So he didn't necessarily cancel the pipeline. He canceled the executive order permit that Trump had issued. Now, we will give you what I believe is a pretty non-biased look at some pros and cons, so you have information to make your own decision. This is from a variety of different sources. Number 1.
Wait. Pause. Do you have a list?
Yes.
How many things are on the list?
17.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. They're all one sentence. You'll get over it.
So I'm saying, can you do it in like groups of like 2 or 3?
Yes.
If you start reading, I will zone the fuck out on you so hard.
Okay. Let's do the first 3, then 4. And most of this is just facts, right? I'm just trying to give people facts because there's a lot of fucking people who are like, oh, I love the Keystone. Oh, the Keystone's terrible. And one thing I will say is
there's a lot of fucking people. You're right.
On the left, a lot people bitch about the Keystone pipeline going through indigenous territories. That's the Dakota pipeline, not the Keystone. So like, I'm just trying to help people keep their stories straight, right? So the Keystone pipe, this is a pro, right? I'm gonna start with the pros and we'll go to the cons.
I thought we were getting into, how about we have to guess whether it's pro or con?
Okay. So they're gonna be pretty obvious, and the sources that they come from, one is a pro source, one's a con source.
I'm just trying,
but you can tell me.
I'm just trying to interact with you during this, so I don't have to just, be that guy.
I appreciate the interaction.
It's a little classroom participation. All right, we got a bunch of little things on board, and you do your thing.
I won't tell you if it's a pro or a con then, all right? We'll do it this way. I'll mix them up. How about that? But I'll do 3 of them just to keep Mikey happy. All right.
Shuffle the deck.
All right. So in order to do that way, I have to enlarge my screen. Okay, so here we go. Number 1. The Keystone Pipeline can be a major, and by the way, I pulled all these sources from articles pre-Trump. So there is 0 of these that are post-Trump bias. Okay, and I will cite these in the YouTube details later. So, number 1, the Keystone Pipeline can be a major job creation project. The U.S. State Department has estimated that the construction of the pipeline project could create up to 42,000 jobs over the 2-year construction period. Most of these jobs would be considered temporary, but also 38,000 of them would be considered support jobs, such as food service. 35 permanent jobs would be created with this project. Number 2, let's see, let's go to this one. Okay. It isn't a full pipeline project.
Pause. Are we answering if that's a pro or a con?
No, we're going to read 3 and then you can comment on the 3. Okay. That's what Mikey just said. All right. So
it's a long one.
Number 8. Well, number 2, I'm dancing around here. This isn't a full pipeline project. The Keystone Pipeline already exists, as I mentioned earlier, in a completed state. At the moment, it delivers tar sands oil to the Midwest. The goal is to extend the pipeline down to the Gulf Coast to increase potential processing capabilities with an asset that already exists. The reputation of the Keystone Pipeline is already a proven commodity with a history that can be verified independently. Okay, one more. It would transport one of the most damaging forms of fossil fuel available to us. Tar sands oil is called bitumen. It sounds like a character from Star Wars.
Bitumen.
The petroleum is combined with clay, sand, and water to create a very thick mixture, which must have the oil extracted from it afterwards. There are only 2 proven ways to remove this from the ground. According to the New York Times, one method includes using water and natural gas to pump steam into the tar sands, which creates the potential for a toxic runoff. Strip mining is another option. All right, so there are 3 of them. Would anyone like to comment on any of these 3 facts about the Keystone XL project? If not,
I guess we're voting smash or pass.
If you want, you can. I mean, that's fine. I'm trying to just give facts, and then you guys can make of these. You can make of them what you want. I'm just here. I'm just the messenger. I'm just Alex Trebek. Don't be mad at me.
Well, I just wanted to. It's called. Well, okay. Context. I used to be a property adjuster for Farmers Insurance, and sometimes on flat roofs, they use a modified bitumen as the barrier to waterproof and all of that good stuff because it is such a thick, viscous material. So that's why when you said bitumen, I was like, oh, it's bitumen. I know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have phonetic
tar
pronunciations.
I know. I'm just for the listeners, not necessarily for you. It's for the
listeners. Like bitumen better because it sounds like a spice.
It sounds like a Fifth Element fucking name of somebody that.
Okay. All right.
Colonel Bitumen.
The Keystone Colonel Bitumen. He took his Flintstone bitumens. Okay, the Keystone Pipeline can be a major economic contributor. It is believed that the Keystone XL Pipeline has the potential to contribute more than $3 billion annually to the U.S. economy once it becomes operational. It would also create an estimated $2.4 billion in U.S. dollars for Canada, which will be split between the government, its shareholders, and company reinvestments. It would also allow Canadian producers to receive up to $2 more per barrel for these tar sands oils. Let's read this one since I'm dancing around here. The issues from DAPL are often which is the Dakota Access Pipeline, are often associated with the Keystone XL. The protests from the Dakota Access Pipeline are often associated with the Keystone Pipeline. Although the two projects are somewhat similar in what they hope to accomplish, the environmental concerns are slightly different for Keystone. There isn't a direct access and arguably unapproved access through tribal lands with Keystone, as there definitely are with the DAPL. And let's do this one here. It will add more emissions to the atmosphere. And this is an interesting one because there's an antithesis argument to this one as well. Although the overall impact to the environment from the Keystone is expected to be limited, it is still an addition at a time when reduction has been a consistent point of emphasis. Millions of pounds of carbon are still an issue, no matter what the final percentages happen to be. Adding to global warming instead of subtracting from it has the potential to reduce GDP in the United States by up to 2% each year that the pipeline after the pipeline is active. In practical terms, if Keystone XL goes active, it will be equivalent of adding 5.6 million cars to the roads every day. I'll give you one more. Tar sands oil has the potential to be highly corrosive. The oil that will be piped through the Keystone XL extension is some of the most corrosive petroleum that is used today. This means the interior of the pipeline will eventually wear down, which increases the opportunities for it to spring a leak somewhere, as we saw in 2017. This corrosiveness has the potential to affect the air quality in the nearby neighborhoods which surround the refineries along the Gulf Coast where the oil is processed. I wonder what kind of community those might be. I don't know. I'm just wondering. Would anyone like to comment on any of these factoids?
Yeah, I'll take a swing at the last one. How long is the Keystone XL pipeline, the final phase of it, proposed to be? 1,900
kilometers-ish.
So
what's that in freedom units?
14 meters.
Because I'm reading a study that says that the longer a pipeline is, the more chance there is for a whoopsie daisy with oil spilling out of it.
It's about 1,200 miles.
Yeah. So yes, the pipeline will wear down eventually, and apparently every year there is a 14% increased risk of a spillage or leakage from the pipeline. And when that happens, most of that oil is unrecoverable and in the ground or in the water. And then there has to be remediation, which is cleaning up the soil or the water, which takes years. The last pipeline spill, at least in this study, in 2014, was 20,000 barrels of crude that was released in North Dakota. And most of that didn't get recovered by the oil company. It was just in the ground and they had to clean it up.
And then they'll spend millions denying the people that live around those areas any type of reconciliation or recourse for the resulting third eyes coming out of here, or extra esophagus or anything that they or their babies might grow in the years following this spill of unrecoverable crude oil into their water table or something like that.
Yeah, and I will say that's not unique to oil. You know, who does that a lot is nuclear waste facilities. We had a place, side story in West Chicago. I think I probably mentioned this a couple years ago, called Kerr-McGee, that was literally taking the waste from the production and selling it as soil in the neighborhoods. And there were quite a few people in the town that I grew up in who died because of Kerr-McGee, because the soil that they used in their backyard was literally radioactive. You know, so it's like, that obviously is not the oil company's faults, but they run around the same track frequently. All right. So part of the oil that will be shipped through the Keystone XL will come from the Bakken, B-A-K-K-E-N, Bakken or Bacon, I'm not sure how, Kevin Bacon, shale formation. It's a shale formation that looks exactly like Kevin Bacon and is 2 degrees from our podcast through Bruno Amato, which is located in Canada. This means U.S. jobs in the oil industry will be supported at the same time the project is supporting Canadian jobs. TransCanada has essentially said that they are going to process tar sands oil, whether the pipeline extension for the Keystone is built or not. This product can be transported by rail or other options, but they argue the pipeline is the safest method of transportation because they're going to get it out of the ground anyway. In a world where the tar sands oil is going to make it to its destination one way or the other, we argue, and this is this person arguing, that it is the best option to choose the safest method of transportation. In this instance, it's Keystone XL. Let's grab another one here. 2 out of actually, let's do this one first. The oil industry, the interests which have been promoting the Keystone XL have been cutting industry jobs. The oil industry has been cutting jobs since 2005 instead of adding them, which I know is true because I'm in an oil digging town in Bakersfield. Despite record profits of nearly $550 billion in the period between 2005 and 2010, the top companies of the industry have actually reduced their employee numbers by over 11,000 workers. The top 5, and this is like riggers and drillers and guys who work on the boats and stuff like that, the oil riggers. The top 5 oil companies in 2010 laid off 4,400 employees despite paying executives bonuses that topped $200 million. 2 out of every 5 workers who work an oil industry job work for the local minimum wage with less than, so this is again going back to the jobs, the 40,000 jobs that would be created. 2 out of every 5 workers who work will work for the local minimum wage, and most of them will work at fuel stations. With less than, so this is a fact about the Keystone XL, because people, and this is, I think, probably one of the most salient points, is people talk a lot about these 40,000 jobs that are going to be created, which we already talked about. A lot of them were like food service and stuff like that. Less than 4,000 high-paying of these jobs will be high-paying construction jobs, which those jobs, again, are temporary. And the majority of opportunities that this project will create for people and families is going to be extremely minimal. Moving to another fact here. This is harder because Mikey wants me to dance around, but I'll dance around for Mikey. Although Keystone XL does promote energy independence for Canada and the United States, it is doing so through a resource that isn't entirely efficient to obtain. This means that there will always be doubt over the contracts from this fossil fuel because the cost of importing oil could, at times, be cheaper than the locked-in costs of what the pipeline offers. And I'm waiting for any feedback and going to read another one. All right.
No comment.
The oil industry in Canada is responsible for...
We don't have your list. We don't know how long each one is.
At the oil industry, I'm just reading them over and over, or one after the other. The oil industry in Canada is responsible for 1/6 of the nation's economy. The issue that Canadians face with their oil is that there are several transportation constraints due to the location of their petroleum reserves. This has led to a consistently high cost of production. With Keystone, Canadian producers can raise prices because the quality of the petroleum will be better while they are able to cut their overhead costs at the same time. So basically their argument is it makes the Canadian economy more efficient. Next one. At full production, the EPA believes that the Keystone Pipeline will add about 19 million metric tons of atmosphere annually to the atmosphere. This figure is in comparison to conventional oil production. In 2011, the U.S. was responsible for about 5.5 billion tons of carbon pollution, which was second. Let me finish the sentence, which was second only to China's 8.7 billion tons. This means the increase of the amount would be less than 1% of the totals already produced. I'm sorry, go ahead, Haas.
Can you go back and talk to me about the atmosphere being added to the atmosphere again?
Yes, it's an interesting fact. So you're taking what's basically happening here, and I'm not a scientist. Maybe Mikey can give you a better scientist explanation.
You said that, and I'm like,
but so you're taking, remember, matter and energy are never destroyed. They're only changed, right? So you're taking something out of the ground, and part of that through the processing becomes exhausted into the atmosphere. So you're taking from the solid earth and putting it into the sky. So why are you laughing at me, you asshole?
Because I think you honestly just like fucking copied and pasted like the end of something. So the word atmosphere is describing itself. And I think it was just a flub. But this whole like the ground's in the air is also very funny. So I'm tempted not to stop.
But it's also very true because you don't.
No, it's not. The atmosphere is not in the atmosphere. You said the ground is in the atmosphere. Like, what are you saying?
No. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Just read the sentence one more time.
Just read the sentence.
All right, I'll read the sentence again. At full production, the EPA believes that the Keystone Pipeline will add about 19 million metric tons of atmosphere annually to the atmosphere. So I
think they meant to put something else in there.
Carbon.
Like carbon.
Carbon. The word is carbon, but atmosphere has been put in its place.
Carbon dioxide to the atmosphere.
Okay.
Because the atmosphere, like I can't pick up a cup of water
but technically,
out of a tub and then say, if I put this in, there'll be more water inside the tub. Like
this, yeah. So this was written by an economist, not by a scientist, I believe. So, but the
fallacy,
but the not a fallacy. I'm trying to forgive them for if they made a mistake because that's just where
they cannot be forgiven.
But the
fuck them kids.
So definitely not a fallacy. However, if you take anything from that's liquid, it's not in the atmosphere. And then you boil it, it becomes atmosphere. So even though it is steam, water vapor, it is still technically part of the aggregate that would be the atmosphere. So hence part of the atmosphere. And we're getting into a real fucking rabbit hole here.
Okay. Just go.
Just
go.
Big house. I had your back.
Just go.
All right. The oil price slump from 2014 to 2016 has taken away more than 35,000 local jobs in Alberta that contribute or support the extraction of petroleum. This has created a revenue deficit of nearly $1 billion, with the required shutdown from the wildfires that destroyed the region. Completing the Keystone XL Pipeline would provide more support for this sector and establish sales that could restore some local jobs.
Pause. Aren't we having wildfires because of the droughts, because of global warming, because of us using oil and putting in more pipeline to more efficiently get more oil out of the ground? Just make it that much easier for us to have more forest fires, which will be never mind.
Yeah, well, the California fires are interesting because living in California, I can tell you that we have a very, very dry season and a very, very wet season. And most of the area in California, there's not people in it, like on the mountains and the hills and stuff. People don't live there. So you have a lot of like right now, all of the hills that are around me, like the grapevine, they call it, which separates LA from Kern County, is green. In 3 months, it's going to be brown. Something sparks that, the whole thing goes up. There's no fire department, right? And then the problem with that is once it all burns off, then there's no more foliage to hold the dirt to the top of the hill. So when it rains the next winter, you have mudslides, and Oprah's yard gets dirty. And everybody watches the news then because it got in Oprah's yard. Not really related, but interesting factoid. All right, let's see what I got. I'm almost done here with the facts. So let's just grab a couple more. It creates a reliable product for Gulf Coast refiners to process. The refiners who in the U.S. who would be processing the tar sands oil would also benefit from this project's completion. The current products come from suppliers that are considered to be, quote, less than reliable, according to a report from Reuters. Instead of relying on product from Mexico or Venezuela that may or may not come in, Keystone offers a daily refining option that can support us. I believe the last two here. So let's do these last two. Last one. The Political Economy Research Institute estimates that more than 160,000 jobs could be created with short-term renewables or green stimulus package with a $100 billion investment compared to the 40,000 estimated jobs that same investment would create for the oil industry. So the argument there basically is more jobs could be created by the creation of sustainable, more, quote, green investments. And that is according, again, to the Political Economy Research Institute, which is a bipartisan institute of economists and scientists. So there are your facts. So basically closing it all off with this, and then we'll have a quick discussion. The Keystone Pipeline pros and cons show that there is a potential for economic growth, especially in Canada. It also shows that there's the potential for harming the environment more than we already are in lieu of development of more clean energy sources. Finally, in criticism and the idea that gas prices are higher due to the construction shutdown. For example, I'm going to quote a viral Twitter quote here. Gasoline, and this is from about 4 months ago, gasoline in Russia is $2.10. Kuwait, 78 cents. Saudi Arabia, 98 cents. Look at our gas prices. By the way, all those numbers they quoted were fact-checked and false. Nobody is shutting down pipelines in those countries. So experts here, again, economists and scientists, say the recent increases in U.S. gas prices are due mainly to a lack of oil production, much more than any actions taken by Biden, such as canceling the proposed Keystone XL Pipeline. The pipeline shutdown has absolutely nothing to do with gas prices. And this is a quote from Patrick DeHaan, the head analyst at Gas Buddy. Prices are higher because production has lagged behind, not because there isn't enough pipeline capacity. We have more than enough pipeline capacity. The price tracking site, Gas Buddy again, notes that while crude oil prices drive global trends in gasoline prices, retail prices for fuel vary widely from country to country because of taxes and government subsidies. Unlike the U.S., Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait, who were quoted in that tweet, provide subsidies that reduce the cost of gas to consumers. And finally, in early COVID, when travel and commuting curtailed, the demand for gasoline declined, and so did the price. So year-over-year figures compare today's prices to an unusually low level, exaggerating the jump. Since late spring of 2020, demand for gas has risen steadily as business activity increased back to normal. Yet supply has not been able to recover as quickly thanks to delays in restoring drilling capacity, higher transportation costs, and sluggish production increases. The American Petroleum Institute spokesman Scott Lauerman said, and I quote, "First and foremost, higher crude oil prices are the main cause of higher gasoline prices. The pipeline would not fix this. He agrees that the price of crude, the biggest component of gasoline prices, is higher this year because demand is rising while supply is constrained. And it is fair to point out that over the last decade, the U.S. has exported different numbers at different times between 38 and 70% of its supply. So the idea that all of this oil from the pipeline was going to stay in the U.S. is completely false. It's anywhere between 38 and 70% of it, depending on, the capitalist market, that would leave the country. So we don't know what that number would be, but we know that it would probably be within that range. So all I've done is given you facts. Some of the facts are pro Keystone, some are anti Keystone. I don't know how I could possibly be more fair. With that, I turn it over to the esteemed panel for thoughts. Let's start with Tim.
That was quite the word salad. Man,
I think it would have sounded better if Mikey hadn't told me to do it all weird. And so it's Mikey's fault. I said we blame Mikey.
Well, next time you write out this whole thing, maybe don't do it in such a boring way, and I won't try to jazz up your bland ass mayonnaise.
So
boring ass fucking dig.
Boring is relative to a cat.
I like the deflection. I like
the dog is dangerous.
This is good. This is really good.
So,
let's talk about how we presented it, not the content. That's going to be, I think, the right way to go.
So, as for the pipeline itself, and I was reading the chat, and there was comments in the chat about trains and what there are more dangerous. And yes, transporting oil by trains is far more dangerous. There's far more spills.
Agreed.
Far more damage to the environment. However, I think the problem is that we're using so much oil that it needs to be transported faster. And the price of oil has a very funny habit of going up at just the right times. And I think the problem here is the oil producers themselves, who largely don't give a fuck about the environment and really don't give a fuck about where the pipeline goes as long as it gets there and they can transport their oil.
And as long as it's not through any of their estates or anything like that.
The study that I was reading before by the National, was it the NIH, the National Institute of Health, says that it's for hazardous liquid pipeline accidents. There are an average of 400 a year in the United States.
That liberal rag you're reading from.
The government says.
Where'd you get that from? MSNBC?
And the problem is that the oil companies don't maintain the pipelines good enough because they're impossibly long. And the longer they are, the more chance they have to spill. They spill over
and they're
water
not
crossings.
Going to hire enough people to monitor it all.
Well, and
that's cutting into their Bentley money.
Dutch was saying that most of the jobs that are created by creating the pipeline disappear once the pipeline is created.
That's actually the biggest takeaway from this, I think, that people need to remember. Do you remember the number of permanent jobs that it created?
35.
35.
35.
Right.
35.
So
35.
35.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna cause this big hissy fit over 35 jobs when I can create, say, just to throw one off the top of my head, a solar company and create 36 jobs in like a day that are, and then another guy starts a company, he starts 36, and electric and all these other types of, and I'm telling you right now, the biggest thing I think we're missing here
Fuck
is
liberal
hydrogen.
Electricity.
Oh, and
hydrogen. Hydrogen is where
fucking Mark Hamill that he doesn't want to fuck liberal electricity. He wants to fuck Mark Hamill.
Here's the other thing is that
fucking Mark Hamill with electricity would be interesting. But anyway,
I like it.
Wow.
Classy. That's what I'm
retweet that
When
one, Mark Hamill.
When accidents happen with the pipelines, the average time for the oil companies or whoever services the pipeline to respond is half a day. How much oil can be spilled through these pipelines in half a day?
Right.
Before
So
they
that's
even know
12
that it
hours.
happened.
12 hours spillage.
Before they
Well,
even
It said right there 790,000. The XL would pump 700. This particular piece of the Keystone Pipeline already exists, right? This is the extension, and 790,000 barrels a day. So that, I don't know what the math is, but if you divide that by 24 and then by
345,000
and then by 60,
Oh, I lied.
you know,
No.
you look at how much would come out per minute. That's pretty substantial. Do you want that in your neighborhood? Now, again, we make a very salient argument, and I'm going to throw this in the right wing's face here. You know, they're going to, though we make this argument as well. They say, well, the vaccine is not 100% effective, so why take it?
apples and oranges.
But then, but I've seen this happen. And then they say, well, the pipeline is 99.9% effective. You should do it. But the vaccine is 99.9% effective. Don't do it. Like, you can't make that argument, right? Like it's
selective.
Right. And yes, they're apples and oranges, but you're using the same philosophy in the argument. So it's like, I'm just bringing that up to be fair.
I'm saying get rid of oil. That's what I'm saying.
Well, no, I agree with that, right? Like, we need to at some point move. I think the next step in the evolution is hydrogen. There is hydrogen in my computer. There's hydrogen in the carpet. There's hydrogen in the air. There's hydrogen in the light bulb. There's hydrogen in the wall.
So we saw Back to the Future.
So I burned the computer to make the car go vroom vroom.
That's right.
I understand.
So yes, that's exactly what Trump would say, by the way. They're going to Tim and they're going to say, let's burn our computers today, honey, and try to get to the store.
That's how you do it.
I want to piggyback on what Tim said, because I think he made a very important point of these facts are great, and we keep having these conversations that are distractions. Like our energy consumption as a nation has consistently been actually about war. If we had invested in solar energy instead of nuclear power, we'd have a solar grid across the country that was decentralized. And yeah, it would have had to be updated, but so do all the nuclear power plants. We invested in nuclear energy because it's a way to hide like uranium being refined. And that's like over and over we do that. And like we're talking about the pipeline, we invest in that because it funds people's wealth. It's not about energy. It's not about all of these things. It's about funding wars and money and power for people that don't care about any of us.
And while we invest so much in these things to help war and other things, other countries invested in infrastructure and things like that. And now we are archaic compared to countries like China and Germany and other places. It's in terms of our infrastructure.
Yeah, well, to be fair,
Joliet.
China does produce a lot of oil.
You're driving down 80 and you go over that goddamn bridge that's rated F.
Hey man,
that bridge hole in one of the off ramps.
Yo, that bridge every time.
Off ramp. I'm always driving over that bridge. And I'm like, please don't let today be the day.
It's only got about 14, 15 rivets left in that whole.
That feels to me like our country. I feel like every day I wake up and I think, please don't let today be the day.
There are literally bridges in Illinois. There's none. There's not many of these in California that I see, but like, especially when as a biker, you are very conscious of every single structure that you ride on, because you can feel the slightest movement in it, like way more than you can in a car, or especially in a big truck, right? So like when you, especially like if you're on a bike and if you're ever on a bridge and on a motorcycle and a big truck zooms past you the other direction, you can feel that road bowing, right? Now, they're built to do that. I'm not trying to make it seem like it's bad, but there are some of these bridges that are in disrepair, like the one that Haas mentioned, and some of these are like, I go around them because I'm a conservative rider, and I go around them pretty conservatively, because some of them are like 6-10-story drops off this bridge onto the expressway below,
or
now
or something,
Yeah. So they're kind of scary sometimes, you know what I mean? And like if those things, you saw what happened in Minnesota, right? Now, again, this is separate. And I think we need to know that like all oil doesn't become gasoline. We get that. It becomes plastics and stuff like that, to be fair. But this particular oil is earmarked for gasoline production because it goes directly to refineries. So it's not involved in that particular conversation. And it goes directly to refineries.
Well, if you want to talk about like the price,
at least to my understanding. So if I'm wrong, correct me in the chat.
If you want to talk about the price of gas and the price of oil, there is a direct correlation with not enough refining capacity and the price of gas. And the problem is that the oil producers and the refiners don't want to build new refineries. It's expensive and it's environmentally almost impossible with regulations. So the problem is not that there's not enough oil. There's not enough refining capacity, and the refiners don't want to build new refineries.
Because that's expensive.
Yeah.
And they know
that's never going to change.
They also know that, like, look, these oil companies are not stupid. They know that that they have a limited life cycle to what they're going to do. And I've made this I've made this analogy before. It's a silly analogy. But like in a few hundred years, when we're in like literal space travel, type of we're going to Mars and shit like that, Captain Kirk doesn't yell to Scotty to give him more E85. We're going to use different fuel sources, and we need to start realizing that we're going to make this turn at some point.
Dilithium crystals.
Dilithium, right? The warp drive,
Snowpiercer babies,
right? Now, warp drives probably don't exist, but you get the point, right? Like we're going to use different forms of technology, and once those things are developed by NASA and start being used by companies like SpaceX and Spin Launch and companies like that, Rocket Labs, then that trickles down in one of the actual a literal way that trickle down does work. Technology does trickle down. Money doesn't, but technology does. And it becomes less and less expensive, and then you can get that into a car or a bus. Like California literally runs its buses off of hydrogen. They're hydrogen powered buses.
Here's the thing though, Dutch, I just want to say, like, when I was a little kid, I remember watching 2020 about the electric cars that they had made in California and leased to people. And then they took them back and destroyed them. They've had electric car technology for like 50 years. The reason it's not out there is because they didn't want to let us have that until they had maximized their ability to make money off of gas. I'm not super into conspiracy theories, but I genuinely believe that these energy companies absolutely have the solutions that we want and need. And they are waiting until they have extracted every single dollar they can out of oil. And then they're going to magically shift to the new technology. Oh, and I hate them for it. I hate 100%. Them for it.
Just like you watched the movie Tucker, about the Tucker automobile that could go.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that was real. And then guess what? It got disappeared. Well, the technology got.
My dad has an electric van from 1980 on his ranch, like sitting there. They managed to track down. There supposedly was like non-existent. Like, it's insane. We already have all this technology.
There were electric cars
down once they decide we're allowed to have it.
Cars in the 20s.
So what happens is, like all cars, the concept car that is made for electric vehicles gets bought by companies.
And then they bury it.
And then they bury it. So what happened was there were a lot of electric cars invented in the 80s and 90s, and they were shelved when they were bought because the car companies didn't want it and the fuel companies didn't want it.
And the lobbyists go up into Congress and line the pockets to prevent progress.
And that to me is criminal. That to me is criminal. The fires in California, the fires in Colorado, all of these things, that to me is 100%, at least I wouldn't say all the way, but contributed to by this extractive, exploitive, dishonest form of capitalism. This is not capitalism, right? Like that's controlling the market by suppressing things. It's bad.
Like we can't have electric cars because we've already created this foundation of money generation based on fossil fuels.
That was one of the worst things on that entire list. Is like, well, we're gonna waste all this money if we don't just make this one. It's quicker if it goes this way. It's like, because you're just hard up for fucking cash. Oil industry, are you fucking kidding me right now? Shut the fuck up.
It's currently $114 a barrel.
Wait, what's your source on that? Because I checked it yesterday. It was 96.
CNBC right now.
Okay, so
that liberal rag, man. That liberal rag.
It's the May contract for oil, WTI crude.
Okay.
Oh, you're looking at the futures. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's going to be the price of oil in May.
Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, the price of oil in May will be okay. So right today it is $96 a barrel. Right.
Yeah, he's looking at the May.
Okay. So on March, this is something I researched the other day. So I might get the numbers off by a smidge, but basically, the price of oil per barrel for a barrel of crude on like March 3rd of this year, March 1st or 3rd, whatever the date was $124 per barrel. It's like this ridiculously high number. And they raised the price of oil, gasoline, to a national average of about $4.20. Mm-hmm. It came down, and when I checked it the other day, I believe it was $96. The last time I was at $96, which was in February, it was $3.27 or something like that cents, right? So it's come back down to the level it was a month and a half ago. But the gas companies have not lowered the price at the pump.
Of course not.
Why would they?
You got used to that used to the new price. Yeah. So we're gonna keep it there.
And that's the thing with the inflation in the grocery store.
When somebody gets fired or leaves and they don't replace the position, because you get used to doing the extra fucking work.
You get used to doing it. And like I don't want to hijack this, but like again, I worked in air conditioning for years. Every year in air conditioning, and it's a different industry, but the mentality we're talking about here. Every year in air conditioning, there's a 3% price increase from distributor to end user, right? I don't know what it is from like OEM manufacturer to distributor, but from distributor to end user, which is like your HVAC installer, the guy who comes and puts it in your house. Those systems will go up 3% every single year. Pretty much clockwork, 2.5%, 3.5%. It's just something they do. Okay. In 2018, after the Trump tariff, remember trade wars were fun.
Easy to win.
It went up to they did an 8% price increase on top of the 3%. Mm-hmm. Okay. So some of those tariffs were offset by some of the steel because the steel, this affected aluminum and steel and copper and stuff like that. And some of the companies that were selling that lowered their price eventually to be able to become more competitive with the American market, right? To come below what the tariff would be. So the price that like Rheem and Carrier and these companies were paying started to come back down, but they never took away, the distributors never took away that 8% price increase. Mm-hmm. In fact, the next year in 2019, they put another standard 3.5% on top of it again, and 3.5% on top of it again in 2020, and 3% again in 2021. And now in 2022, because of COVID and with all the supply chain issues, they've done a 7% price increase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're not going to these things, at least in air conditioning. I'm not speaking about every single industry here, so I'm not trying to build a straw man. But this is an example of people just get used to the price and they expect that it's going to go up and they leave it there. So even if their costs go down, they don't pass that on to the end user. And that fucks two people. It fucks the air conditioning installer and the person buying it and having it installed in their home.
Well, and I'll throw another one at you. This British guy was looking at the cost of inflation around food, and he said, if you look at the way this is happening, it's clear there's a certain kind of price fixing, because the raw ingredients that are often going to be purchased by people who are of lower income have gone up 300%, like beans and rice and all these other things. But the prepackaged lasagna that uses all of those ingredients has only gone up by like 5%. It went from like 8 pounds to 9 pounds. And he was like, but if you looked at all the raw ingredients, it should have gone from 8 pounds to 30 pounds based on all the other increases. But they're not going to increase those like middle class items, because that's going to piss off a bunch of their like donors or whatever. And so that's the other thing, like what you're talking about, like you said, that they're fine with the price increases that affect the people that they don't care about,
Right?
that they can fleece. And that's the
That have
problem.
no
And then
other
we
choice.
fight each other, but actually we're just dealing with a system that's screwing us.
Just a quick question on what you just said. So, and I don't know this, but I know sometimes in business, and I'm kind of pushing back a little bit, but I'm more asking it as a question, is we will set up, we'll go on a contract, right? So I'm going to sell you this for the next 2 years at X price. And sometimes they're locked into that. So I don't know, is that cited in the source as being a possibility of that?
I will see if I can find it. His analysis was primarily like looking at a broad spectrum of foods, because he was talking about inflation, and he said it's just it's very convenient that the foods that are more likely to be purchased by people in poverty are the ones, or lower income brackets are the ones that have increased so significantly, but those same ingredients don't contribute to an increase in these other things. I will see if I can find the article. I don't love citing things that I can't find, but I will see what I can find.
No, that's fine. But I think the overarching theme of what you said is probably extremely true. I think that it matters to a degree, but like you've got, and this is the smart thing that they do in steel, and they do in air conditioning, and they do in oil, and a lot of other, it's not smart. It's smart for them from a business perspective. It's bad for us as consumers. Is they, instead of locking in the price for like 2 years, or you're going to pay X dollars for something, they lock in a gross profit over cost, like a margin. So they'll say the margin, wherever our cost is, you're going to pay cost plus 8%, cost plus 18%, whatever that may be. So that as the commodity price goes up, you pay a higher price, and as the commodity price goes down, you pay a lower price. So, that it's different in different industries. But the theme here is that, again, I don't want it to get lost. 35 jobs is not worth all of this hubbub. And, 4,000 high paying construction jobs, that's great for those 2 years, for those 4,000 people. Haas, you're on mute if we're trying to talk, but a lot of these jobs, again, are minimum wage, and it's like, it's not providing a livable situation, a living wage for people. So like, no, I don't support it. Like I support a career, I support an industry. I don't think it's evil, but I think that, and I'm not saying like you couldn't do it on a short-term thing. I just think we need to look at things that will provide more to society in the long run, and give people jobs that can pay living wages. That's my whole platform. I don't see why that's something people can argue with. But I don't know.
I don't want to pay a lot for gas, so fuck you and everybody who says that this pipeline is a bad idea. I'm the standard American. I want to drive a lifted 350 dualies. And then my daughter has a big old Jeep that's lifted too. It gets 2 miles to the gallon. I got the H1 in the backyard. That's one, and I have a right to put in power the people that keep my gas cheap.
My food truck gets 10 miles to the gallon.
Yeah, but how many sandwiches per mile?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'd have to do the math on that.
Still waiting on my goddamn FedEx package, by the way.
I'm working on it.
And by the way,
develop the technology.
Diesel is not completely made from crude oil. So there's a lot of what is it called? Biomass or something like that that they use.
Let me tell you, my truck uses gasoline, diesel, and propane all at the same time.
You're the worst offender.
Yes, you have your carbon footprint is 1 million.
Carbon Bigfoot.
And all three of those things have gone up a lot in the last 2 weeks.
You are not a soy boy.
He's a diesel boy.
I'm a cheese boy. Does everyone remember around mid-April last year when the price of oil completely collapsed and became negative for a brief period of time?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the pandemonium that caused in the energy markets.
Mm-hmm.
It caused mass layoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But you never hear about it. And one of the people who was laid off was my wife's brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Super conservative.
He's super conservative and went from, I don't want to dox him, but he went from a lot to a little. Let's just say that, right? But unwavering support for the industries, like,
because somehow it was the liberals' fault.
It was everyone's fault. It was COVID. Nobody was driving. Energy usage went down 30%.
But COVID was created by Nancy
negative.
Pelosi.
That's right.
Yes.
No, I thought it
with baby stem cells.
I think it was Shahid.
It was the Russians.
It was probably Shahid.
Believe me, if Nancy Pelosi had been responsible for COVID, Shahid would have told us.
It's true.
That is accurate. He's very well learned on her policy procedures. For sure.
Tim was there in Wuhan when they created it. It was Schumer, Pelosi, and Tim.
Did he sleep with a?
Yeah, he was supplying the damages.
And Mark Hamill.
Yeah. My truck was parked outside the lab.
Oh, good.
Where do you think he gets all his?
Get your COVID grilled cheese.
Hunter Biden was there, and AOC and Tim.
I saw.
Who wants to try my
commitment
to
and
Soros
that you guys have going on here.
Yeah, Soros was
I
there.
like it.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm still trying to find an article for you. Sorry.
And Beyonce was probably there too.
Hunter showed me his laptop.
Ooh.
You have it right now.
Wait, now that you know the secrets, are they out for you?
Yeah.
That's why we that was part of him coming onto the BIN podcast network, is we had to demand it that he got a green screen.
Gotcha.
So that they can't tell where he is.
Did you tell him to change his name?
I forgot.
That's not a green stream. It's an energy shield. It just looks like a green shield.
That's not even Tim's real face. Tim is a 45-year-old woman from Saugatuck.
Who's playing
through the miracles of tech.
Tim's a woman playing men's sports, of course.
So,
excellent.
Through the miracle of technology, I've been able to.
Right.
His true name has been revealed.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Tons of mice.
Oyvind Grabinski.
That's a Motel 6 shower curtain.
Tim the oligarch.
I wish I was an oligarch. That sounds like fun.
I forgot
that or a super church, a mega church pastor.
By oligarch, I mean a member of the United States Congress.
There you go.
I wish you were too.
I thought you were going to say high cleric of the cheese cult.
I am that. I'm the high cleric of the cheese cult.
The Stafford City School Board Council, aka the Deep State.
Deep State 101.
Well, there you go. There's your dig on the Dakota. I'm sorry, the Keystone Pipeline. I almost got caught in my own catch-22 there. So there's a discussion. Take the facts to the bank, and if you disagree with anything, go fuck yourself. So
no more drilling.
And Mark Hamill.
Yes, and thank you to Mark Hamill for his support. Mikey, do you have a message before we get to the humidor for our listeners?
Oh shit! Hold on, I forgot it. Where is it? Hold on. There he is.
Oh, that's a cute puppy.
Hey guys.
Not for long.
This is Zero. I am withholding all pets and good boys until our Patreon goes up. I'm just going to tell him he's bad. I'm going to tell him everything he tries to achieve. He might make it, but I doubt it because he's a dog.
You're gonna be
I'm going to tell
like
him
your
that.
mama.
He looks so sad.
I wish you had your mother's eyes, not your eyes. That's what I tell him. I'm gonna keep telling him that until you guys go to. Now Dutch is. What are you doing? Where's your finger on the button there? Patreon.com/digonamerica. And let's fill up those pledges, huh? Just throw us a couple bucks. You know, if you like the content, you want to help the show grow, a couple bucks helps out if everybody pitches in. And also, I will take all of his toys out of a garbage bag that I hold on a rope just out of reach.
And it's a clear bag.
He knows.
He's a monster. That's what I was just thinking. He's a monster.
He saw me put them in there.
It's a clear bag, damn it.
He saw me put them in there, so he knows. And then every once in a while I go like that, and I shake it, and he can hear all the goodness in there.
You are violating constitutional amendments.
Also, his treats are in a bowl, and I have a fan on them that blows the smell all throughout the house, but I'm not going to give it to him. Not going to give it to him.
You're diabolical. Like, even if you're not doing these things, you thought of them, and that scares me.
You know what the worst part is? I came up with them on the spot.
Oh,
but if you're in a position where you're not exactly able to help us out financially, worry not. You can go and follow us on Twitter at Dig on America. Check out our Twitch, twitch.tv/DOA podcast. Oh, no, it is Dig on America now. Which one's DOA podcast? None of them now? We got them all switched?
None.
Sweet. So everything is at Dig on America. Same thing with YouTube. So follow us, like us, comment us, subscribe us, do all that good stuff. If you're not in a financial position to give us your cash so I can get him out of bad
give it to us anyway.
I haven't booped his nose in weeks.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I bought a tank top. I gotta go. I love you guys.
Oh,
love you too.
She's anti-cigar.
No, actually, I love the whole cigar scenario. They do make me sick. I've smoked them, and my ex-wife was into them, and
Which ones did you smoke?
She buy them and bring them home, and I try to be cool.
You gotta have good quality cigar, you know.
Here's the thing: I'm gonna come to Chicago, and you're gonna show me how this works.
I got you.
Because we're gonna go raid Mike's house at some point.
It's the thing.
Rescue Zero while you're there.
Yeah, and if I'll rescue Zero,
he'll be in a cage.
But I actually won't, because I want you guys to get more Patreons. And if I get sick, someone has to hold my hair back. That's all I'm saying from this.
Well, we've seen Drunk Isla on the Thanksgiving show, so we know.
Yeah, but I didn't. You did, but I didn't get sick.
No, she literally podcasted like this.
Oh, she's the best. What a champion! What an absolute champion!
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna leave the show. I'm just gonna lie down.
I'm still here, just resting.
If you ever run for office,
rest.
That's totally going to be used
let's
by
be
your
clear. That
opponent.
is the tamest thing that will show up. I cannot run for office.
Right?
No, I can't.
No,
I screwed myself on that a long time ago.
No.
Neither can I, but that didn't stop me.
No.
Well,
Not doing it. Not doing it.
I have considered it, but I kind of grew up in the internet age.
Right?
I was too young. Too young to be out there.
I'm
like
so
y'all, a
glad
lot of
that I
your
grew up
bad
before the internet.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of your bad youth stuff, that stuff never even made it to the internet. Well, if you're in your 30s, you had Zanga.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I'm lucky there were no camera phones, or it would have been worse.
Or camera phones.
Oh my god.
Right?
The truth of the matter is, and I don't know, this is a little known fact. Tim didn't run for office. He briskly walked.
I did.
Yes.
Actually, it wasn't even a brisk walk. It was more of a slow saunter.
Drinking a soy latte.
A sachet.
Yeah, a sachet.
You sashayed.
He skipped for office.
You skipped for office. Well, none of us are wealthy white men, so we have to actually not have any skeletons in our closet.